Before to pass the floor to Hugo, let me spend a few words about Hugo, but Hugo is well famous in the shipping arena, in the world shipping arena. Hugo, you don't age, the same since 20 years ago. Congratulations. Same glasses, same face, same body.
I lost my hair.
Same fit. So, and Hugo is an independent professional advisor through his company and the Dole Finance. And Hugo worked for DVB since a long time, and on exclusive base with DVB at Monte Carlo, and is hugely experienced in passenger and cruise sector, one of the most experts in the world in cruise. And Hugo, you have the contact with the private investor and private equity investor or private debt investors. So, I am a fan of the support, the new entry and the support of private equity in shipping, but I'm a bit worried by the generalist investors and the private equity for shipping. I wouldn't see next 3 years what happened for the bank sector. So I wouldn't to see the private equities boom like a ship landings boom. So I am curious to get your view about also through your presentation.
Well, thank you for this very friendly introduction. And when Avvocato Francesco Lauro had the idea that I should speak about financing the cruise industry, he can have been motivated by two different aspects, I believe. Firstly, don't forget that Italy is the #1 producer of cruise ships in the world, and the Port of Naples, one of its most important cruise ports. But there may have been another motivation when he chose this monastery as a venue for this conference, because in the German language, cruise is Kreuzfahrt, and that is exactly what we are here for, namely a trip to the cross, which in a monastery and here on the wall is very applicable. So one of the two must have been his main arguments, but I don't know which one. So maybe we should talk about both. Anyhow, I could keep this presentation very short by saying there is no finance for the cruise industry, because in practice that is a bit like that, but it's not quite true. And I will show you a number of slides which you can study at home, and I will tell a few stories about those slides. So you will see that there are basically 5 different sorts of finance for the cruise industry, theoretically: capital markets, bank, export credits, and alternatives. Well, then here, is that sharp, that picture? On my computer it is, but on the screen, can you read it? Is it sharp? Is it focused? Doesn't look like it. Anyhow, you can download the presentation later at home. Yes. Private equity in the cruise industry has been limited to 1 or 2 American companies and 1 European company in the river cruise industry. Public equity has been around for a long time for the very big boys. No newcomers in the public equity league recently. Preferred shares, one example. Mezzanine debt funnily enough, we have not seen any mezzanine debt in the cruise industry in the last couple of years. High-yield debt, yes. We have seen a German example, and secure debt is, of course, what we have seen in the past, but not so much at present. So we all know what today's capital market conditions are. Shipping is unpopular with the banks. The banks have problems themselves. If there is any lending, it is to key industries where they have to have a low capital ratio. Shipping has a high capital adequacy ratio, so it's not popular. And the cruise sector is totally absent in the bank market at the moment. Why? It's the old story. The cruise sector does not fit in any pigeonhole. Banks are usually not creative, cruise is not shipping, and cruise is not leisure, it's somewhere in between. So the only two banks that in the last 5 years have actually been active in financing second-hand or almost new cruise ships were two German banks. DVB was one of them, and both have withdrawn from the cruise finance market with the argument that the market is not enough liquid. And I must say that they do have a certain point there, because it has been shown that the second-hand cruise ship market at the moment is virtually dead. So it means that if a bank would get stuck with a cruise ship, it's almost impossible to sell. And this is also something that the big cruise ship companies have realized. In the past, companies like Royal Caribbean and Carnival, NCL, would keep a cruise ship for 20 years and then sell it on to players, mainly in Germany or England or Greece, who were the main buyers of second-hand cruise ships. Now, these companies today cannot get finance from the banks, and actually for second-hand cruise ships there is no export credit, and for second-hand cruise ships there is no appetite from private equity, so basically the market for financing second-hand cruise ship does not exist. And this means that, in my view, a number of those companies that have been operating second-hand cruise ships now will gradually disappear. Don't forget that with the competition in today's cruise market, the rates that you pay for a cruise on, let's say, Costa or MSC are so low that they are not anymore lower than when you go on an old cruise ship in Portugal or England or Germany. And what we see is that clients, if they have the choice, still prefer a new cruise ship to an old one, unless they are of a very high age and are looking for something of the past. Now, how has the cruise industry then financed itself over the past years, with the banks being virtually absent? Mainly through the issue of bonds. And I have listed here those bonds that have been issued in the last 18 months. You will see the amounts are considerable. They're not cheap. But interesting enough, these are all American bond issues. And the requirements for issuing these bonds are, in a way, much lower than the requirements banks would have applied if they would have lent money to these companies. The big difference between bank lending and bonds is that banks, when they give a loan to a ship owner, and that includes the owner of a cruise ship, the banks love to include few pages of covenants and conditions in the loan documentation, and if you look at the bond issues of these companies, they are virtually absent. By the way, the last one is the top bond issue by Viking Cruises. I don't say Viking River Cruises anymore, because you know that the Viking Group has 2+2 ships under construction in Italy at Fincantieri, and this was what they call a PIG toggle note. Is there anybody here that has heard of a PIG toggle note? I hadn't heard of them for 2 weeks ago. It means payment in kind, and these are notes. They are quite amazing. You really wonder how investment funds and pension funds are satisfied with these kind of bonds, because they do not only have a full balloon, so there is no repayment during the 5-year term of the bond issue, but they don't even pay interest either. That also comes at the end. So it's a great product for the issuing. Yes. Yes. So this you can also read at home about the different banks. Of the 10 top banks, and Fabrizio has already mentioned it, there are actually 9 commercial banks and only 1 specialized ship finance bank, which again is DVB, which has left this market. So the time is over, I see. We all know what the main issues for the shipping banks are. Capital adequacy, Basel II, Basel III, values that have come down, and the existing capital shipping book requiring too much capital and too much manpower. If you look today at the German banks, they may have reduced their staff, but the staff that is remaining is all working in what they call the special credit department, which is basically those shipping companies that are in trouble. Our friend Antonella has spoken a bit about export credit, and this is basically the only credit you can get on a cruise ship today. I believe that the last 24 months, no new cruise ship has been delivered that has not been financed by export credit. We all know the players. That's Sace, that is Hermes KfW in Germany, Finvera in Finland, and Coface in France, and the Norwegians. But the Norwegians are not building cruise ships in full, they only build parts. Without these export credit agencies, I'm afraid there would probably be no cruise ship construction anymore. Advance ratio is up to 80%, 12 years OECD, straight repayments, and that is now become competitive because there was a difference between what you could get in Germany and what you could get in France and Italy. Sace has become more active. The Germans have become more active. The Finns have not become more active, and that is probably the reason, or one of the reasons, why they book very few orders for cruise ships. We have basically still one solution for the financing of cruise ships that we have not discussed. That is the sale and leaseback. That is well known for normal solution for normal commercial ships, but in cruise ships that has not been popular except for one German owner in the past who likes to have cruise ships on his books. But one Italian owner has in the last 24 months done 2 sale and leasebacks with Italian and Asian lessors. So that is a possibility, but it's not cheap. Private equity funds, the only 2 private equity funds that I am aware of that are actively involved investing in cruise ships is Apollo in the United States with its interest in Oceania and Regency Cruises. And it is a German-Dutch fund called Waterland, which has invested in Arosa River Cruises and in ISP and River Advice management of cruise ships. So I hope to have time later on to discuss and answer questions. For the time being, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I'll hope to see you on board a cruise ship because we need more passengers.
Thank you, Hugo, for your speech. Anyway, I like to see that you confirm my data about the risk in the shipping. Nevertheless, the shipping industry is totally different compared with the other sectors. The shipping is wide. It's not the same to finance or to invest in dry bulk, in minor handy, in product, in crude oil tanker, in LNG carrier, in LPG carrier, in chemical tanker, in raw packs ferry and company, and cruise ship company. Anyway, except the RCCL and Carnival, no companies are rated investment grade. Or wrong? It's correct.
I think NCL as well.
NCL, yes. NCL, maybe. Is on the board between the speculative and investment grade.